It's SEMA time! This is a SEMA pre-show, and this is where Cindy and I are going to be showing you some of the badass, built up, blinged out road trucks, and if we're lucky, an occasional modestly built practical build as well outside of the showroom floor. So, this awesome CJ8, also known as a Scrambler, for those of you guys who know, is the very first rig that we saw roll into the show, and I love it. As you can see, it's got this really nice color scheme with decals that look right out of the 80s. Everything about it looks pretty stock, with the exception of the fact that it is running on 40-inch tires and 20-inch wheels. But when you look underneath, it's got a spring-over axle lift that has these Rancho shocks with old school 80s style rubber boots on them, which I actually kind of like a lot. Swing around over here, you can see that they kept the dash mostly stock looking as well, with a few modifications. Core boost seats with 5-point harnesses, and of course what I always love is something like this old school worn 8274. I love it. When you're working on big built-up trucks like this, sometimes what you really need is a big built-up floor jack, as in 37-inch tires big. Get a load of this thing. I wonder if it works. This Jeep right here really speaks to me, if only because it is a 1974 CJ5, just like our very own Jane, which means it's an intermediate CJ5. And if you can see here, it's got an Engo winch. I just scanned it, and it looks like that's who this Jeep belongs to. And this thing is super clean. I love it because it is ultimately very, very stock. Everything about it is super clean. I don't know what's going on with the dash over here, but it's got this nice roll cage in it, rear seat as well. Let's see what size tires it's got. It's actually running 33-inch tires, which is 2 inches bigger than what we have on Jane, but it still looks fantastic. And what I love most about SEMA is that you'll have something as classic as this CJ5 right next to this JK. What a stark contrast. This thing is as clean, as simple as it gets, and this thing is just adorned with every cake decoration that you could possibly throw on a Jeep. If you look here, it's got everything from the angry grille to the winch with a color-matched winch line. We've got tube fenders, some kind of mirror protectors, limb risers. You've got your light bars and all these different light cubes, roof racks, all kinds of doodads, footsteps maybe right over here. And of course on the rear bumper tire carrier, you got all kinds of MOLLE storage, including Rotopack storage, your high lift jack, and everything just screams, buy these products. Now this is a rig that I feel like I saw last year, but I was drawn to it not just because it's a Gladiator and that it's big, but it clearly has been used. And I'm always drawn into a big built-up rig that is actually out there on the trails having a good time, as opposed to just being shiny and pretty here at SEMA. As you can see, it's running 43-inch Baja Pros, made by Mickey Thompson, of course. It's got an Evo double throwdown system, running fusion axles front and rear, so it's the real deal. It's got big beefy steering components. Of course, I'm not 100% sure. Again, I thought I saw this last year, but it's got a 2024 grille, and according to the hood, is running at 392. And maybe what a lot of guys are gonna want in a pickup like this, in addition to a triangulated rear upper control arm setup. I'm thinking it's probably from Rock Crawler, but this thing's got a bobtail, which should make it a lot better out on the trail. As much as I'm a Jeep guy, and that is the main reason why Cindy and I come to SEMA, is to check out all the cool new products that are coming out for it, it's hard not to appreciate an amazing build such as this 1957 Chevy truck. Not only is it gorgeous, I mean, the rebuild on this is amazing. The paint job is phenomenal. All the chrome is super shiny. It looks gorgeous on the outside, but what's really cool is what's underneath. This thing is built to be wheeled and fast. It's got long arms front and rear, a triangulated upper setup. It's running coilovers, big Fox coilovers. And as you can see here, it's running axles to take the abuse, even though there's no way I'd take this thing out in the desert. And I'm sure it's just because it's SEMA, but this thing is running just 35-inch tires, which is actually a perfect fit for this truck. Man, I'd love to have this thing. I'm gonna show off my age here for just a bit, because this thing right here just screams Sid and Marty Krofft. This to me looks just like Wonderbug, and back in the 70s, it is something I would have totally wanted even before I fell in love with Jeeps. You know, we were gonna see at least one of these here at the show, a Cybertruck. And check it out, it's like totally slammed. Looks like it's being brought here by Fury Tires. Running 33 1350s on 24s. With the wider tires, less back spacing and more offset, it definitely has a really wide stance. It definitely looks like something right out of the movie Aliens. So here's another Cybertruck, and unlike the slammed one that we saw earlier on 33-inch tires, this one's actually running 35s. But it's weird because, maybe because it's taller and even got bigger tires, it just doesn't look as good. I actually think the other one looked a lot better. So I should probably note that this rig here is brought to us by Predator Tires. There aren't too many big name tire companies coming to the show anymore. Toyo kind of has a presence, but everybody else is gone. Anything that's a US made product anyway. But you can see the tread pattern on this is kind of nice. It reminds me a lot of a Nitto Ridge Grappler. And these are a few companies still showing up to the show. Here we are at TIS Wheels, and this is exactly what I would expect to see out here in front of the South Hall. A big Gladiator sitting on top of 44-inch tires. And at least, if nothing else, they're running really nice Curry axles, proper axles for tires this big. And if you take a look around, the whole thing has been lined with something like a Rhino liner that's been colored. Looks pretty clean. Nice roof rack setup. It's got this Real Trucks roll and log deck on it with this extrusion outer bed cage of some sort. I'll be honest, I haven't seen it yet. Maybe it's new for the show. We'll check it out later on this week. And it's carrying their large 44-inch tire on top of it, the way we used to on our big Gladiator a few years back. Bodyguard armor, bumpers, front and rear, rocker guards as well, along with some skins. It's got a light bar. I'm not exact. Oh, it's actually made by Bodyguard, you can see as well. There's a common theme going on here. And the wheels are 20-inch wheels. I'm going to guess they're made by TIS. They really look like beadlocks, but I don't think. Nope, they're not. So I really apologize for not catching your name, but forklift operator here at SEMA, a fan of ours on our channel, pointed me over to this Jeep over at the Seymour Paints booth. Well, what will be their booth. And it's for all you TJ guys, because there are always guys like you out there who want to see a really well built up rig just like this, which you can see is completely adorned with metal cloak products. As you can see, all of this, including the body armor, the fenders, the long arm kit, the radius arms up front are all metal cloak, running 6-pack shocks as well. And I believe the bumper is metal cloak too. I'm not 100% what motor it is, but I'm pretty sure it's a V8, so this thing is probably pretty awesome. Now this is yet another great example of what a SEMA build typically is going to look like. As you can see, it's sting gray with a color coordinated metallic orange almost in it. It's actually pretty nice, and I think it's being brought to us by Bulletproof Hitches because, as you can see right here, that's what they're featuring on the back. Super clean build, lots of doodads. Let's see what the tire size. Check this out. 42 1550 on 26-inch wheels made by Fuel. As you can see, it's featuring a 392 under the hood and these pretty interesting looking manufactured control arms. I think they're made by this company, Elevate. And it's interesting because it's got this drop bracket on here with this extra support to kind of give it a long arm feel, I'm gonna guess. I can honestly say I've never seen it before. I'd be interested to see if they're inside the show. If you come around here, you can see that these wheels are neat because they've got a valve stem cap on the outside as well as the inside. And of course, they've got lights going around the rotors here, which should be really cool to see at night. Interestingly enough, I'm really happy to see so many rigs this year featuring big, heavy steering components, and of course, proper axles, like the kind you'd find at Curry. As far as the bumpers, the fenders, and the roof rack goes, everything looks like it's made by DV8, and it's got the angry grille as you typically find here at SEMA. I kind of find it interesting. There's obviously a lot of money thrown into this. I'm always a little disappointed to see a really old winch, like from 10 years ago. It doesn't even have a label on it, and they just gave it kind of a paint job to complete this build. I really dig the shocks. Tito's handmade vodka. So here's a pretty cool Jeep Gladiator that I came across in front of the Mickey Thompson display, and I stopped here not only because it's got a nice wrap on it featuring all kinds of metal cloak products and this pretty nice ARS adventure rack system that's tied into the cowl. It's got this kind of deck in front of the windshield, grab handles on the outside, also featuring these round rigid lights of all things. But the rack system comes all the way back and ties into the bed rack system as well. Now, really why I stopped here though is because this Jeep, in addition to having all this metal cloak stuff, is also featuring a long arm kit, which there aren't too many of them out there right now. Certainly Evo has one, but this one's actually done really nice. It actually relocates the control arms onto the frame rails, and you can see it's got their entire skid plate system as well, and their new bypass shocks that they've been featuring lately. This Jeep is mildly built otherwise. It's got 37-inch Baja Boss tires from Mickey Thompson, as well as their Simulock wheels. You can see right here that have a nice finish. So there's one other thing I just found out about this rig that you might want to see. Take a look at this bad boy. Hellcat.
Got a little more power than most of these Jeeps do.
Awesome. Very cool. Check it out. A 6x6 TJ with front, center, and rear steering. This is clearly SEMA. So I just walked into the Fury tire booth. Obviously that's what they're featuring on this Jeep Gladiator. A set of Fury Country Hunters in a 37-inch size. And really what brought me to this isn't so much that there's a Gladiator, it's kind of a basic build, covered with a whole bunch of DVA products, some round rigid lights, which are pretty cool, going back to the retro look. What's really interesting to me though is this rooftop tent. Or maybe I should say it's more like a steel cap or a hybrid between the two of them. And it's made by a company called Skinny Guys. And what's interesting to me, of course, is that it says it's made in the USA. Now, what's different about it is that this cap sits on top of the bed, which means you have all the storage on the inside still, but you've got this kind of pseudo hardwood floor going on, and you've got even a porta potty, other doodads in here, but when it opens up, you get this nice large bed space on it as well. So you get your storage, you get your camper, and everything else in between. I'm probably gonna have to see it there on the inside and maybe get more information on it, because although I'm not really a roof tent kind of guy, this one actually has my interest. I think the 80s are calling. I think they want the Comanche back. Speaking of the 80s, when your angry grill just ain't cutting it anymore, saying how pissed off your Jeep is, maybe a set of Angry Eye appliques is what you really need. I'm over here at the Rook Road Jeep that they have out here in front of SEMA, and that's actually what caught my eye, is these angry eyes. But in fact, they are showing off all the products that they make for a Jeep or Jeep Gladiator, including this bumper with grill guard with license plate attachment. You can see that they've also got these light mounts for the A-pillars, roof rack. They've also got a bed rack, fenders. And maybe one thing that a lot of guys have been asking me about is other options for a rear bumper tire carrier on a Gladiator. As you can see here, they have a double swing ambulance style opening. Comes complete with D-ring mounts, latches to secure everything in place. And it looks like with these MOLLE panels, you can store other things like fuel cans. And on the bed rack, you can see they have additional storage boxes that attach on the outside. And right next to this Rook Road 4x4 Gladiator, we've got this one built up by Quake. And I have to say, I'm a little disappointed that it's not more crazy, because in years past, if there was one company you could rely on bringing all kinds of crazy builds to SEMA, and I mean like out of this world crazy, it's these guys. However, what they did right on this build is show off all the products that they make, which is mainly LED lights, including these square lights up here for the sides, these cube lights for the rear, these tail lights, which I believe are new, which also include ambers. Looks like they have some lights for the fenders, or rock lights. And of course, on the A-pillar, we've got these cube lights and a light bar all the way across the top of the windshield, and even one across the cowl. Maybe last but not least, they've also got these cool new lights where your vents would go on a Rubicon, in addition to amber lights in them as well. And last but not least is definitely this light bar on the front of the bumper. And if there's another cool thing about this Jeep, it's the fact that it's riding on top of an AccuAir airbag suspension system. And for those of you who've been following us on YouTube, you know that this is something that we've tested out, and it is totally awesome. Because you know it was gonna happen. Here's a Cybertruck that's been totally overlanded out. And I have to say, it kind of works, although there's no ground clearance to speak of. But they do have rocker guards and bumpers, a tire carrier. They've got all kinds of MOLLE rack systems on it, including track boards, front bumper, grill guard. I don't know what kind of range they're gonna have. Not like you can carry extra fuel with you either. But I do see they have a roto packs, so maybe they're carrying fuel for a generator. When it comes to coilovers and triple bypass shocks, this is something that Cindy and I are totally familiar with. As you know, it's on multiple rigs of ours. However, I'm embarrassed to say, when it comes to triple bypass airbags, this is all new territory for me. I've never seen anything like this before, but this year, here at SEMA, all these big built-up bro trucks seem to be running on them. And I have to say, I'm genuinely intrigued. Here's a rolling chassis to give you a better look at what's going on. I'm really interested. You can see here's a triple bypass on an airbag on this frame. If there's a chance, I'm gonna look for them on the inside, and hopefully I can bring you more information on how these things work tomorrow. $1650 on a 30 KG1 forged massive aluminum wheel with pink highlights on a Jeep Gladiator that's in Tuscarora pink and all kinds of bling. This is what SEMA is all about, or at least the pre-show anyway. Well, boys and girls, that's the end of our pre-show coverage. We hope you enjoyed seeing some of the cool things that's out here at SEMA. Be sure to check back tomorrow for our day one coverage inside the convention hall and out on the showroom floor.